All right, good morning, everybody. My name is Amy Shore. I am a professor in the Cinema and Screen Studies department, and I was a digital accessibility fellow for the last go round. Today, I am talking about plain language and the value of using that in certain kinds of communications. Not all of our communications, because we are discipline specific, but some of the communications like emails and instructions and things like that. So let's go to the first slide. So I'm pulling from the 5 accessibility principles for content authors provided by SUNY Oswego. And they will post this deck later. You'll be able to follow any of the links in here, and you can access that document. But the 2 guidelines, so you can click again, for plain language are: 1, for general communications like emails, test instructions, or summary content of a website, use clear, concise, and efficient language. 2 is be literal and precise. Avoid jargon, homonyms, heteronyms, and idioms. Is that clear to everybody? Do you think that would be clear to all of our students? No. Okay. Well, she's gone through the whole slide. Okay.
Sorry.
So another way to do this is to use plain language techniques. Order the information, give clear headers so students can understand what is being conveyed to them, and then bring the language into sort of everyday language as much as possible. I think they say middle school is your era. So one take of it would be this: what? Use clear, concise, and efficient language. When? Use in general communications like emails, test instructions, or summary content to a website. How? Be literal and precise. Avoid jargon, homonyms, heteronyms, and idioms. And one of the things that wasn't in there, I would add, why? It benefits all users, including people with cognitive disabilities, low reading literacy, and people who are encountering an unknown topic or language. So note that I've used bullet points to structure this. I've used bold, right, and all caps to be able to give an identification of what I'm talking about. And then I've tried to shorten the language where possible. Anybody notice one thing here that you say, I don't know, I think my students still might have a problem if this was just delivered to them? Gwen?
The jargon, homonyms, heteronyms, idioms, they have no idea what those words mean.
I have to say, I was chair of the English department, and I had to kind of remind myself about homonyms and heteronyms and which was the difference. So yeah, click one more time for me. We're going to focus in on that how, and then we're going to try to bring this to a little bit more clarity, that we would even be able to create these guidelines more friendly for those of us who are not English professors as well. So let's go to the next slide. Let's talk about how to use plain language. Some of the things that go beyond just keep it short and simple, my little logo that I made there at the top, KISS. 1, put information in logical order with the important details first. 2, use active voice with a clear actor in your writing. Even here, just by beginning with put, use, I'm not saying you should use, but we know that that's an active actor that I'm pointing towards. 3, use familiar language. Even saying concise, etc., those words are probably middle school, but maybe a little bit advanced. So try and make it familiar language. Next, conduct a usability test of your content. And I adapted it from Harvard University's Use Plain Language digital guidance, because they dig a little bit deeper than our guidelines have right now. And they give some ideas of how to do this. So I'm going to do it through going into these 4 and using some examples. So let's go to the next slide. 1, put information in logical order with the important details first. So let's see. Click. Example. CELT will be offering a workshop during the winter breakout on plain language. Is the most important information first? Let's click again. A revision could be plain language is a workshop offered during the CELT winter breakout. So they're just a simple flip of what is the thing you're actually advertising? We're advertising the workshop, right? And that tells us what to expect. Whereas the CELT winter breakout is a broader thing, right? That's the context for it. Let's go to the next slide. Use active voice with a clear actor in your writing. All right, what's our example? The deadline for workshop enrollments is December 1st, 2024. Pretty clear sentence. I would use this all the time. But if you're choosing this principle, you might change it and click to revise to you must enroll in workshops by December 1, 2024. So again, we're not talking about everything you write. We're talking about instructions to students, emails, those kinds of quick communications where you want to direct students. They don't have to say, okay, the deadline for workshop enrollment is December 1, 2024. What does that mean? Oh, what it means is you must enroll, right? It tells them also an action they must take. Next, 3, use familiar language. Okay, an example. Avoid jargon, homonyms, heteronyms, and idioms. That's my example of not using familiar language. A revision might be, first, avoid using words that are specific to a field, friends jargon. Next, words that sound the same but have different meanings, such as right and right, homonyms. Next, words that have multiple meanings, such as lead or wind. Wind could be wind, lead can be led, right? Those are heteronyms. And then lastly, phrases such as when pigs fly or beating around the bush that cannot be understood from the meanings of its separate words. Those are idioms. So here I chose to still put the specific word behind the explanation because it's an opportunity, right, to educate somebody if they're not familiar with their words. We'll come back to this again. Oh, I think I actually put another slide in here. Let me see if I gave the next example. Let's try this again. Use familiar language. The example again, avoid jargon, homonyms, heteronyms, and idioms. Now imagine I'm just advertising this session. Do I really need to even explain all of that? Another way, if this is quick communications, a revision would be avoid using confusing words or phrases because I know I'm going to be presenting on those specifics in the presentation. So if this is just an advertisement for it, I'd probably be better off to just keep it to that concept. And then the 4th principle, conduct a usability test of your content. So this is less guidance on how to write, but what to do once you've written it. Actually, before you write it, you should identify your target audience. Are these students? Are these your colleagues? Is this a general audience? And then after you've written it, ask a member of that audience to read your content and ask them, I think we have one more, if the content is meaningful and understandable to them. So those are the 2 keys, right? I think I've focused on understandable, but we should also ask them, is this meaningful, right? Does it help you with something? Do you understand what you're going to be able to do with it? So let's go to the next slide. I'll give you a couple of examples. This is from plainlanguage.gov. That's the name of the organization. So that's why I, for those of you who know contextual URLs, I've kept it there without it linked to indicate that it's the name of the entity. And I've linked instead the page that does this before and after. So this is an organization. It's a federal organization that helps advance the use of plain language in federal agencies. So here's an example they give. Infants and children who drink water containing lead in excess of the action level could experience delays in their physical or mental development. Children could show slight deficits in attention span and learning abilities. Adults who drink this water over many years could develop kidney problems or high blood pressure. So the way we've learned, if we were reading this and we were going to get tested on it later, I think we'd be highlighting and underlining, right? And sort of deconstructing this. But they could convey it a little bit better, and they give their own example of how. Next slide. Thereafter is lead in drinking water can make you sick. Here are some possible health effects of high lead levels in your drinking water. And then they break it out. Children, bullet points. Adults, bullet points. A lot clearer for somebody not only who is not an expert, but just even think about even visual learners, right? They're going to be able to move through this much quicker. I think for all of us, it's much clearer. I'll give one more example. Before. Mitigation is the cornerstone of emergency management. Is the ongoing effort to lessen the impact disasters have on people's lives and property through damage prevention and flood insurance. Through measures such as building safely within the floodplain or removing homes altogether, that's how they spelled it. I fixed it in another slide. Engineering buildings and infrastructures to withstand earthquakes, and creating and enforcing effective building codes to protect property from floods, hurricanes, and other natural hazards. The impact on lives and communities is lessened. So as a person who was in the English department and loves to write, this gave me agita, the altogether, using semicolons and then colons and I couldn't even, right? So here's thereafter, and I'd still fixed one thing. After, protect your community from natural disasters, exclamation point. And then the bullet points, build safely in the flood zone, should not have a comma, I didn't edit that, or remove buildings altogether. I did change altogether because I just couldn't deal with it any longer. It's not AL together. Engineer buildings and infrastructure to withstand earthquakes, create and enforce effective building codes. So not only have they broken it out, they've put active, right, at the front of this, and they've prioritized what they think is the most important. Build safely, right? So let's go to the next slide. I'm going to give you your turn. So when I had to send in a description for this, I played a little game, and the first description that I gave was, this workshop is intended to help individuals with accessibility issues by improving the effectiveness of written communications such as emails, test instructions, or summary content on a website through use of plain language and avoiding complicated sentence structures, jargon-filled language, or other complex language elements. Whew, ran out of air. So what could be fixed in this description to make it using the plain language principles? You guys can just come off mute and jump in. If you don't offer, I will call on you. Faith O'Brien, thank you for playing the game.
You could definitely incorporate bullet points and break everything out a little bit. I'm sorry. I appreciate this webinar so much because I practice this every day when I'm sending emails to staff, and I also have a son who needs what I consider interpretation, and I've been his interpreter for 19 years. So anytime you can simplify the words you are using, delete, edit as little as possible to get your point across. Those are the strategies that I use, clear and direct, because clear is kind.
Clear is kind. Keep it simple and short. Well, let me see what I try. I have two versions of this. Let's go to the after. I tried the bullet points, Faith, and I tried to move up what I think is most important. The purpose of this workshop is to make written communication more accessible for all individuals. Strategies we will cover include use of clear, concise, and efficient language, avoidance of jargon, homonyms, heteronyms, and idioms. And so now I've given away. That was what I wrote. And then I prepared my own presentation and I went back and I said, well, that's not very good either. So what could we fix on this version? I know Gwen just loves to contribute.
Well, the whole second bullet either
Absolutely.
needs to be gone or broken down. Avoidance of complicated words.
Yeah, jargon. In some ways that feels like jargon, right? So let's try it one more time. I changed it to use clear, concise, and efficient language, avoid confusing words or phrases. So bringing it down, right? And I think that I also changed the beginning. Learn to make written communications more accessible for all individuals. Go back one. The purpose of this workshop, that's not giving active, right? So click to the next. Learn to make written communications more accessible for all individuals. For general communications, such as emails or instructions, learn to. So I'm trying to make also that, add that little bit that like, this is going to be targeted communications. And then again with the actives. So I believe I have one closing slide. Yes. Let's conduct our own usability test. If you could click once. One, ask of this, is the information in logical order with the important details first? For me, if this is going out to entice people to be part of this presentation, telling them right at the front that they're going to learn something, right? And what it is seems to be the most important. Next, is there a clear actor? Even again, though I don't say you will learn itself implies that you are the learner. Next, is the language familiar? Is this familiar language? In looking at it, again, if I'm imagining that this is my fellow faculty, I don't see any words myself that I think would trip people up. I'm happy to take input on that. And then fourth, does the target audience find the content meaningful and understandable? So you're the target audience. That's the question. Do you find this meaningful and understandable? And I thought we might just come off of mute for a moment and discuss what we think meaningful and understandable is. So maybe somebody who hasn't been able to participate, I don't know if Patrick, Megan, Roselli, Doris, or Emily, one of you would be able to come off mute. Maybe not. Gwen or Faith, would one of you be willing to? Faith.
So one thing I think I try to avoid, I use email templates for my job, and I'm starting to use them with my staff members, is I find I like to draft a template, and then when I send it out a couple times, if I'm getting the same questions in reply, I can edit the template to be more clear and to really just avoid any sort of gray area, or if not that I don't want questions, I'm happy to get questions, but it helps the person on the other end have a clear picture of what I'm trying to get across. So I like using those templates as a way to really redefine what I'm trying to say in as clear as possible.
That's an excellent tip. And one of the things I learned unrelated to this for digital accessibility is that, or a habit that I've developed, is I now use Google Docs and Google Slides for everything. And I use Google Docs, for example, for my syllabus or for handing out midterm assignments. And I go over it in class. And as I'm getting those questions, I will pull it up and say, well, let's revise that, right? So I didn't sort of realize, Faith, that I was enacting that, but that's something live in class. And it's a benefit of using something like Google Docs, because if you link that in Brightspace, it's going to have the most up-to-date version all of the time. So that was just a little pitch for a habit. So I believe I have a final slide. Maybe not. Ah, yes. So this has been plain language. That is the totality of the presentation. We only have 20 minutes. I'm happy to stay on if anybody does have questions or thoughts or ideas that they want to share. Bluff, bottom line up front. Start with what I need people to know to do in a sentence, then add the why and the how. Yeah, what's the bottom line here?
Great, thank you, Amy. I'm gonna stop the recording.